Welcome to the Big Game Hunting Podcast, where we help hunters like you prepare for the big game hunting adventures you've always dreamed of. Now, here's your host, John McAdams.
Hello, John McAdams here. Welcome to episode 355 of the Big Game Hunting Podcast. My ongoing Africa hunting mini-series continues this week, and I have another special guest joining me on the show today. Hancke Hudson. Hancke is an exceptionally rare breed in that he is a South African professional hunter who has spent the past 30 years hunting the rainforest of Central Africa for animals like Bongo, dwarf buffalo, sitatunga, and the numerous species of small antelope that live there. The rainforest is a special place, and as you will learn here shortly, these hunts are like nothing anywhere else in the world. Now, while these hunts are not for the faint of heart, those brave enough to take the plunge and hunt the rainforest will be rewarded with a unique adventure few others will ever get to experience. I have one short announcement before I bring Hancke on. I recently spun the Big Game Hunting Podcast off onto its own specific YouTube channel. Be sure to check it out and subscribe to me there if you like to listen to podcasts on YouTube. Link is in the show notes. Now, let's get started talking to Hancke about hunting the rainforest. Good evening, Hancke. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
It's a pleasure, John.
First, can you share an especially interesting story with my audience about a bongo hunt?
Yes, John, I can. Most of the bongo hunts are special, and most of them are stories on its own. But I had this past year incident in the rainforest, which was kind of interesting. We booked a client from the States, from America, that came, and he came to the forest with a bow. He wanted to shoot the bongo with a bow, and you would think that because of the close vicinity of the animals in the rainforest, the bow is excellent option to use in the rainforest, and it is. Works really fine. But because you have to shoot through foliage, and there's so much of it, it's kind of difficult because you have to find, the shooter has to find a hole to get the arrow through. You know, even if it's close, you still need to find a hole to get the arrow through. You cannot shoot it through the foliage and that kind of stuff. So, long story short, we had the client, and this year the rain was really late, so we struggled in the beginning. In the rainforest, John, we need rain. We need rain because the rain push the animals to the roads, and that's where we get the tracks from. Okay. So we get the tracks off the road, and we need the rain to push the animals to the road. So we didn't have rain for the first couple of days, and it was really difficult. So on day 7 of the 14-day hunt, we found a real decent track, and we followed it. Followed about 2.5 hours, and we got the bongo. And as always in the rainforest, it's thick and difficult to see. And I looked at the track, and I thought it was a really good bull just off the track. But, you know, you cannot see horns of a track. You can just estimate how old and how big the bull is, but not the horn size. So we followed, and we got it, and the dogs baited, but they baited in a very difficult spot, and it was really thick. So I was kind of sure it was the right bull, but I had to see it for myself first. So at that stage, we were most probably 15 meters away from it. We could see the bongo, but its head was down, and it was like in a little dip, like in a little hole, you know, it was standing in a little dip. And with its head down, I couldn't see the horns. So I said to the client, stay here with my young professional hunter that was with me, Ari. I said, stay with Ari and the pygmy trackers. I'll crawl forward, and I just want to see it. Before we do anything, I need to see the horns. So I crawled in and I got like 5 meters away from it. And then only I could see the horns, and it was a really good bongo. So I turned around. I was laying on the ground, and I turned around and I showed him he must shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So he got himself ready, but now he can draw the bow, but then he has to find a hole first. He has to get that hole to shoot that arrow through. So he drew the bow and he moved it a little bit this way and that way and this way. And in that he moved, the bongo saw him. And the bongo turned around and it faced him. And I said, you must shoot. So he got a shot off and he hit the bongo. And as it turned, I could see only the flights sticking out of the arrow. And he hit him right. He was trying to hit him center in the chest, looking at him. But the flights were just more to the shoulder side. And I didn't know if the arrow went in straight through that pocket here at the shoulder and did not hit the vitals, or it went a little bit skew and maybe hit the lungs.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to him, shoot again, shoot again. And as I said, shoot again, the bongo saw me. And he turned and he looked at me. And when the second arrow hit him, he hit him a perfect shot right behind the shoulders. He hit him perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
But as that arrow hit him, that bongo just put his head down and came straight for me.
Oh,
Straight for me. And as I said, he was 5 meters away and I was laying down. There was no time to react. So I just picked up my gun. And as he got to me, I shot him. And God sent, I shot him in the corner of the eye. And that bullet went up and broke its neck. So he was dead when I shot him.
Mm-hmm.
But he fell on me.
Oh, goodness.
So he busted all the muscles in my shoulder. All 4 major muscle groups were torn off. He broke my knee. My patella was cracked. My meniscus was torn. So bongo, that's not supposed to be one of the most dangerous animals in the forest, actually just pinned me and got the best of me in that circumstance. So it just shows you that even a bongo can be dangerous. And over 30 years of hunting in the rainforest, you kind of get sometimes a little bit complacent about stuff. We shoot them every year, and you think it will work out fine, and because of the fact that we love our clients to be successful, you try to go that extra distance. You try to push that envelope a little bit. And he got hold of me, so I was really buggered. I had to fly out to South Africa, get my shoulder done and get my knee done and everything. But we got the bongos. So that's the best story of last year.
Yes.
Luckily, John, there was godsend still till today. I don't know how the horns missed me. The horns didn't get hold of me. I didn't have any holes in me. As far as something like that happens, I had a busted shoulder and a busted knee, but I couldn't ask for anything more. There was no holes in me, and I was okay. And after surgery, I'm good now, and I can hunt next year again. So, so sometimes stuff like that happens, but that's what we're there for. That's our job, and that's what we do.
You've hunted dangerous game elsewhere in Africa, and you've been in this business for many years. I bet you never thought it'd be a bongo of all of those animals that would have
No,
got you.
I'm actually shy telling you the story. It would have sounded much better if it was a buffalo or something like that. It's actually one of those things that it happened, but if I had to tell the story over and I can select, I'll pick another animal for that.
Well, I'm glad that you're doing okay and that you were able to get evacuated and surgeries went well and you're recovering well and you'll be able to hunt this year. Very interesting story, and there's a lot that we can unpack from that. This kind of illustrates what the deal is on these hunts. So first, you say you're hunting in the rainforest. You hunt in Cameroon. Now, I've never been to Kangaroon, but my understanding is there's multiple biomes there, right? There's some savanna, some rainforest. You said rainforest, so you're hunting in, I guess, southeastern Cameroon. Is that correct?
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, we've got 3 blocks. We've got Kika and Lakomo, and then we've got a third block called Mambele. They all bordering the Lubeki National Park, and that's in the corner of Cameroon. Our one border is Congo Brazzaville, just on the other side of the river, and we're close to the border of DR's to CAR. So we're in that little pocket there in the bottom of Cameroon. We've got those 3 blocks, especially Kika and Lakomo. John Mo's probably the best blocks in Cameroon as far as it concerns Bongo. We've got a 24-year, 100% success rate on Bongo. We shoot really good Bongo. We got plenty of Bongo, so we got a selection of Bongo. We don't have to shoot the first one we get. I had a safari where I bayed 11 Bongo.
Wow.
Before I shot the 11th Bongo that I bayed. So we got a lot of Bongo, and the baying, just to explain, is we use dogs to bay the Bongo to just stop it for a while, because it's so thick in the rainforest. It's one thing getting an animal, but it's another thing to actually see the animal. Mm-hmm. And for us to be able to tell a client to shoot it, I need to see it first. A big track means it's an old animal, or it can be a big-bodied animal, but a track doesn't show you anything about the horns. So we need to be able to see the Bongo before I can tell you to shoot the Bongo. Mm-hmm. I need to make sure it's a bull to begin with. It's a male. And then the second thing, I must be sure it's big enough. Mm-hmm. So that's what the dogs do. The pygmies, the indigenous people that we hunt with, they track the Bongo. That's what they do. They track the Bongo through the forest. The dogs does not track the Bongo. The dogs are just there with the pygmies. And then if you get the Bongo and the Bongo moves, the dogs there does not work so much on scent, that they work on sight. So they see the Bongo. And if you're lucky, you get one of the dogs behind the Bongo and he just stops it for a while. They start barking and one of them stop it, because the dogs cannot do anything against the Bongo. The dogs are small and the Bongo is big, and the Bongo is not really threatened by the dogs. So he stands there and, he looks at them and his head is down and he mocks charge of them and that. But he just stands, and when he stands, I can get closer and I can actually see it. And only when I see it, I can tell the client it's good or not. Mm-hmm. You understand? And then only we can decide if we're going to shoot or not. And that's what the baying is. The baying means that they give us a couple of seconds to see and judge the trophy, see if it's good enough. Sometimes the Bongo will break the bay. He just runs over the dogs. Sometimes the dog will bay him again when he broke. Sometimes the Bongo runs away and they never bay him again.
So you mentioned earlier that you need some rain to push the Bongo up into the roads where they cross the roads. So it sounds like you drive these roads in a vehicle, see where an animal crossed, look at the tracks and say, okay, this looks like this track could be for a good sized Bongo that we want. You get out, trackers start visually following these tracks. And then as you get close to it, you're bringing the dogs with you. As you get close to it, the dogs bay the bongo, keep it there, keep it from running away. That allows you to have a short period of time where you can visually see it, hopefully without the bongo seeing you. You identify that it's a male, this has good horns, then you can bring the client in and hopefully make a shot and end the hunt right there. Is that a good summary of how everything works when it goes to plan?
Yes, exactly, John, 100%.
Now, when you and I were talking at the safari show, you were saying that it's not so much the miles that you travel, but the time that you spend on a track. Can you explain that in a little bit more detail for the listeners?
Of course I can, John. Because it's a rainforest and it's really thick, it's a real virgin African rainforest. It's really thick. So the pace that you travel and while you're hunting is very limited. So we struggle to do a kilometer an hour. You know, if you do a kilometer an hour, you're doing good. It's normally a little bit less than that. So if you're working for 4 hours before you get the bongo, you normally not further than 4 kilometers away from where you started.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that it's exactly that you said earlier. It's got nothing to do with the distance that you cover. It's got more to do with the time that you spend in the forest. Because it's a rainforest, it's hot and it's humid, and because of that, and you're in the rainforest, there's no wind in the rainforest, so you sweat a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what it is. And it's difficult, and you have to climb over things while you're bending down, and it's normally moist in the bottom, so your footing is not that sure, and it's a little bit muddy, and it's up and down. The rainforest is not flat. You know, you got hills and stuff that you have to go up with and down with, and fallen trees and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of difficult to move. So you don't, it's not like hunting in the savannah where you can do 5 kilometers an hour or 4 kilometers an hour. You know, you really struggle to do 1 kilometer an hour there. So we're normally not that far away from our starting point, which is a point on the road when we shoot. It's just the time that it takes there and takes back. That's all it is.
Now, you mentioned that there's very little wind in the rainforest. Does that mean that there's little risk of the bongo smelling you and running away? Is it more of a sight and sound defense that it uses?
100%, John. We don't even look at the wind in the rainforest. We really don't. The only time that we look at wind in the rainforest is when we're hunting elephant.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only time that wind is really important. And then it's only important when we do that last couple of the closing stage of it. You know, we follow the elephant track, doesn't matter what it is, which direction it goes. Only when we get really close, then we will look if there's any sort of wind in the rainforest. But normally the wind is not a thing in the rainforest. It's not like normal savanna hunting where you have to focus on the wind the whole time and make a plan according to the wind. There you just work a track and you just go straight on the track until you get the tree.
Now, since the savannah, or not the savannah, since the rainforest is so thick, I don't imagine the bongo can see much better than you can. So I'm sure they're really reliant on hearing danger approach. How are you able to stay on a track of a bongo with a couple of trackers, you, maybe another PH, the client, a couple of dogs there with you? How are you able to stay on the track of this animal without sounding like a herd of elephants moving through the rainforest, so to speak?
I think most of the time we sound like a herd of elephant, but the trackers are really good. The Baka pygmies are one. I think, John, the Baka pygmies is most probably the best trackers in Africa, with the Bushmen in the dry areas. They really good trackers. So we use them a lot to when they track the spoor. They kind of got a sense when we're getting really close. it's a kind of sense that me after 30 years does not even have yet. They know it better. So we would go through the forest and hack a path open for us to get through. But as soon as we get to a spot where they think we're close, then they don't hack anymore. Then they start cutting with their machetes rather than hacking, or we use pruning scissors to start cutting then. And then we go much slower. We go much slower. We pipe everything down, and we try to be as quiet as possible. And that's how we get close to them. It's you have to cover a distance before you get to the animal.
Mhm.
And if you can judge that distance that you cover just before you get the animal right, and you do that last section quiet, then you get onto the animal.
Okay. Now, judging by how I'm picturing the rainforest based on the photos you showed me, the story you just told. These must be incredibly close shots you're taking on these animals as well.
John, I think we tried to summarize it a while back. I think our average shots between 5 and 15 meters. We do get times where we shoot a little bit further, in circumstances like you're in a road and the bongo comes out in the road and he's 80 yards or 70 yards away. You can shoot a little bit further. Or when we're in a mashan, in a high seat somewhere, and looking over an open swamp area, and there's a sitatunga, he can be 70 or 100 yards away. So sometimes there's a little bit of further shot, but most of it, tracking wise, in the forest is between 5 and 15 meters.
Yeah, geez. I mean, so it's almost a bayoneting distance if you had a bayonet on the end of one of these,
Yes,
right?
100%. 100%.
I have heard some people describe it as almost when you get close to the bongo and it's there, the bush is so thick that they just sometimes just pick an orange spot that they can see through through a hole in the bush and shoot it, and and that's the bongo. But it's not you're waiting for a perfect shot or any of that stuff just because it's so big and so close.
No, definitely, John. It's my most important thing is after I judge the trophy and I see that it's good enough to just tell you as the client, which side of the animal that you're looking at, which side is its head. If I can say to you the head's on the left-hand side, then you can judge through the foliage where that shot needs to go. And it's just it's one of those things that we just need to see where the head is. You need to understand which side the head is, and then if you can see a leg, you just go up with the front leg and you pull the trigger.
How physically big is a bongo?
It's an interesting question. A lot of people ask that, and we've never weighed a bongo because we always cut it up, carrying it out. We cannot get the vehicle to the bongo, so we cut the whole trophy out there, and then we cut it up in sections that people can carry out, and we carry out the whole thing. But a bongo weighs approximately the same weight as a fully grown kudu bull. So the carcass weight in a bongo is most probably 200 kilograms. So body weight's most probably 400 kilograms.
Okay. So they're big animals, but they're not giant like an eland or a buffalo.
No. Definitely not as big as the eland, but a decent sized animal. Yeah.
What cartridges do most of your hunters use on bongo?
Caliber wise, you're talking about?
Yeah.
Because you have to punch through foliage. Let me start off in another direction. If you had to shoot a bongo, you can most probably shoot it with a 30-06. But because you have to punch through so much foliage, the bigger caliber you shoot, the better. So I would say a minimum caliber of a 375. The other thing is sometimes we get people hunting forest dwarf buffalo, and sometimes we're getting people hunting forest elephant. So obviously a 30-06 or a 300 is not going to work for elephant. So I would say a 375 minimum, where if you can shoot a little bit a bigger gun, and you can shoot it good enough in something like a 416 or a 458, that's even better. You need a slow, heavy bullet to punch through the foliage.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say anything like that will work fine. What's nice about a 375 is you can do that road shot that I talked to you about. You can do that 80-meter shot or 100-meter shot at a sitatunga that's in the swamp, but you can also shoot at 15 meters with it. So anything from a 375, 9.3 upwards, I would say is the ideal calibers.
So you're shooting these animals at such close range. And even though they're not gigantic animals, they're still pretty big. I don't imagine they're always dropping at the shot. What often happens after the guy shoots the bongo that first time?
I would always advise the client to keep on shooting, John. It's a rainforest, and because we're punching through foliage and that kind of stuff, and it happens so quick, and there's so little time and place to see exactly what happens and where the bullet hits. If you shoot one shot and you can get in another shot, please shoot another shot or a third shot. Doesn't matter. Just as long as it's there, just keep on shooting it. You never know if it hits a biggish kind of tree and the bullet just deviates a little bit, or that kind of thing. And it happens. It happens that we punch through a 4 or 6 inch piece of trunk or whatever it is to get to the animal. And that in that circumstance, the bullet can maybe deviate a little bit and hit the thing in the guts or whatever. So I always say, just keep on shooting. As long as you can see it, shoot it.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm picturing being on the track of this bongo for a couple of hours, trying to be really quiet, especially as you get up close, right? You're talking about using pruning shears to make a real stealthy path up to it, then a little bit of whispering. And then once you shoot, lots of shouting and shooting and dogs barking and all of that stuff, a minute or so of chaos as the woods erupt until it all finally ends.
It's actually one hell of a hunt in the sense that it's completely different than we supposed to know of Africa. Mm-hmm. Because yes, it is exactly that. It starts off as a slow tracking thing and then sneaking up on it. And as soon as the first shot goes, it becomes a loud hunt. It becomes a really loud hunt. As there's shots going off and people shouting and getting the client in the right position, and it becomes a loud hunt. And it's John, for me, if I have to explain it, I think the forest hunt is a completely different hunt than that you used to in Africa. It's kind of on the other side of what you used to. Like if I go with you and we go to Canada and you take me on a mountain goat hunt, which is completely different than that we know. It's in the mountains and it's cold and it's a completely different hunt. Just as much, this is a completely different hunt. Mm-hmm. It's nothing like anything else in Africa. Nothing. It's a hunt completely on its own.
Now, bongo have a reputation in the hunting community for being notoriously difficult to hunt, low success rates, challenging conditions, all of that stuff. But you just told me earlier that you guys have a 100% success rate on bongo over 24 years. How is that possible?
John, I've been with the Gillette family for nearly 30 years, and the Gillette family owns the hunting blocks that I hunt in, and it's got to do with a couple of different segments of it. The first thing is that those blocks are really good blocks to start off with. They're bordering national parks. We got a good influx of a lot of bongo coming in every day. Um, we've got, over the years, we actually really worked it out how to hunt them.
Mm-hmm.
And we got really good teams. We've got very, very fine trackers that we've been working for years and years and years with. And we've got, I've got a couple of really good younger professional hunters there that knows the forest and know how to hunt them. And I think, John, it's just the knowledge that you build up over years that makes it a little bit easier to predict what was going to happen, to know how to do it. It's just, I think you learn over years just how to do it a little bit better. And I think that's the success is the anti-poaching that the Gillette family does. I think the the years of experience helps a lot. In Africa, our success in hunting's got a lot to do with the trackers that we use. In those places, we cannot replace those guys. They a big part of the whole hunting thing. And I think we just got it right to got all those sections really good and working together, and I think that's why we got that success rate.
Now, like I was saying, the reputation of Bongo it's a very difficult hunt. And when I see pictures of people after they take their Bongo, they're often covered in sweat, often look exhausted, dirty. How physically demanding is this hunt? Is this something that an older gentleman could do? Is this something that a guy with a bad knee can do? Or is this only for young, fit guys?
No, John, no. Everybody can do it. Everybody can do it. It's more of a head hunt, John, than it is a physical hunt. If you can go past the point of uncomfortable and wet and sweaty and that kind of thing, if you're mentally strong enough, you can do that hunt. It's not so sheer physical hunt. It's not a hunt that that you walk a lot of kilometers and you get blisters and that kind of stuff. It's not that. It's just more of if you can get your head into the right place, it's definitely doable. And we hunt a lot of older people. I've hunted a bunch of ladies that hunted there. We had a guy with one leg that hunted there. It's not that difficult. It's just you must get it right to wrap your head around it. And if you can stomach the uncomfortability of sweating and get rained on and difficult and bending and that kind of stuff, then you can do it.
Okay, very good. Now, oftentimes, especially with other outfitters, bongos seem to have the idea that you go there for a bongo and you're really lucky to get a bongo, and anything else is icing on the cake. That does not seem to be the case with you guys if you have such a high success rate on bongo. What are some of the other animals that people hunt with you, and what's some of the most common things that people will add to a bongo hunt?
So, John, how it works is you buy a big game license, and on a big game license, there's 3 different classes. There's a A, B, and a C class. On the A class, there's 2 of the big animals that you can hunt. So it's bongo, and then you have a selection between sitatunga, forest buffalo, and forest elephant. Now, the forest elephant that we hunt by law in Cameroon, we have to book that forest elephant on a client's name.
Mm-hmm.
So if you call me and you say you want to do a forest elephant, then I book that forest elephant. The license goes into John's name.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So we cannot just upgrade a hunt to an elephant hunt. It needs to be a proper elephant hunt with the licensing on your name. And so that's a little bit different. But with the buffalo and the sitatunga, you can decide which one of the two that you want to hunt, and when we finish with the bongo, we do the second one.
Now, actually, we'll back up a second. How many bongo do you normally take in a year?
We never shoot our full quota. We don't think it's a good practice to shoot all the bongo. We got a bigger quota that we do a year. On a good year, John, we do 22 bongo a year.
And what would a reasonable size expectation be for a guy going for bongo with you?
John, in our camps, we kind of frown upon anything that's lower than 28. Because we got enough bongo and because we have a little bit of a selection more than the other guys, we rather work harder, and we rather would say no than just to shoot a 25 or 26 inch bongo. We can really select, so we try not to shoot under 28 inches.
And 27 is Roland Ward, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we try not to shoot under 28. Every year out of the 20 or 22 bongo, we shoot a bunch of them, 6 or 8. It's a difficult thing now to say, but normally 6 or 8 in the 30s. We had 33s and 34s coming out of there. So we really shoot good bongo out of that area.
Yes, you have high success rates on the big bongo.
Yes, we do.
Very interesting. So a guy can go there and have a reasonable expectation. Here's another deal too. So on a guy hunting bongo, how common is it for them to see more than one bongo on a hunt? You go out there, you get on a track, you find it, it's not what you want, you pull off and try again the next day.
I personally, John, I like to give a client the full experience. So normally I buy a couple of bongo before I shoot. You know, it's just the full experience, the package. I feel it's important for the guy to kind of get into a bongo, see what it is, then pull back and do another one and another one. And by the fifth or the fourth or the fifth one, you know, he knows how it works and he knows the system, and it's easier for him, and there's not a lot of stress involved anymore. So the perfect safari will be to buy a couple of bongo and then get the right one and shoot it. It does happen that we buy the first bongo and it's a 30-inch bongo and we shoot it.
Yeah.
But if I have my will, and it doesn't always work like that, I would prefer to buy a couple of bongo, give the guy more of experience on exactly what it is to hunt a bongo, and then get the bongo. You know, it's as I said earlier, because we've got selection, we can kind of push the envelope a little bit, and not be afraid that we won't get a bongo.
Man, that's really cool. That's got to be a whole lot of fun to get the full meal deal like that, hunting it multiple times before it all comes together. So you said it's common that a guy will take a bongo in either a sitatunga or a buffalo, because you said you can take up to 2 big game species on one license. So if a guy's going to come there and he wants to hunt bongo, sitatunga, and buffalo, he needs to buy a second big game license. Is that how that would work?
You can buy a second big game license to shoot the other one as well. So it's definitely possible. John, to tell you the truth, a really, really, really successful hunt in the forest. If you're really doing good, you're shooting 3 of the big animals. Mm-hmm. A good safari is shooting 2.
Okay.
You know, so it's a hunt that takes time, and because we focusing on really shooting good bongo, we kind of take a lot of time on that. And normally, when we finished, we don't have a lot of time left for the rest of the stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, we got giant forest dog and red river hog in the forest, and we've got a multitude of duikers. So how it will work is if we out on a hunt and we followed a bongo, for argument's sake, and we either got it or not. We didn't shoot. We get back to camp for lunch. That happens kind of a lot. Then we will do the afternoon for dikers. We'll go out the afternoon, go take that time, focus on dikers, go at the forest, sit with the pygmies, and they would call in the dikers, and then we'll see what we get. Because of the time that it takes to follow the bongo and to actually catch up with it, it's difficult to do it in the afternoon. We just don't have enough daylight left. The forest, because it's a forest, it gets dark quickly in the forest. So, you'll have another hour left of daytime on the road, but the forest then is dark already. So, and because it's difficult to move and see and that kind of stuff, you don't really want to get stuck in the dark and the forest. You want to be out of it. So we'll utilize those afternoons for the dikers if we have the time to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't even consider that till you mentioned it. I mean, you're hunting closer to the equator, and at the equator, when the sun goes down, it goes down fast, and then you're in the thick timber as well, so it's even more pronounced.
So yeah. So because it's difficult when it gets dark, we try to get out the forest before it gets dark. Sometimes you get caught up with it. You shoot a bongo late, and you have to cut it up and carry it out, and that kind of stuff. We always got the headlights and torches and that kind of stuff with us to do it. It's just not the preferred way to do it.
So you have, like you said, you had several different types of diker here. I see on your paperwork: yellowback diker, Bates pygmy antelope, black fronted diker, bay diker, blue diker, Peters diker. All of those, are you getting in a stand, so to speak, and calling, and then having the diker hopefully come to you?
Yes, yeah. We don't. We what we do is we just walk into the forest, find a place where we see some diker tracks, and we will sit down. We got a small little screen, a camo screen that we'll put up in front of us. Everybody will sit behind it. We've got a shotgun then, and then the pygmies call. And the dikers come in. They come in, sometimes they come in fast. Normally you have to have enough time to see if it's a male or a female, and then it's just with a shotgun. Mm-hmm. Most of those shots are moving shots, but it's with a shotgun, and it's really successful. So,
and how do you hunt sitatunga and the dwarf buffalo?
A lot the same as the bongo, but it differs. It's the same, but it's different.
Uh-huh.
So because sitatunga comes out in swampy areas, we've got a couple of open air swampy areas where we've got high seeds. You can go and sit there and see if one comes out. I kind of like it to be a little more physical, so I'll go and check those places, sit there for a while, for an hour or so, and then move off. Sometimes we get into that area, and as you get into the high seat, the sitatunga is there already, and you can take the shot. That's most of the time how it works with the sitatunga. The buffalo, we kind of prefer to not use dogs on the buffalo. The forest dwarf buffalo is a really, really aggressive little buffalo. They weigh about 300 kilograms, but they're much more aggressive than the K buffalo. Mm. So what we found easier to do is to follow the buffalo. And as we get close, we just call them with a buffalo call. You just call them and they come closer and closer and closer. And most of the times you're able to get a shot in the bull then. So it's much the same, but it's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. Now, we talked about where in Cameroon you are, down in the southeastern part of the country. How does someone go about actually getting there?
You have to fly to Douala. So the easiest flight is over Paris. You fly Paris, Douala, and then you arrive in Douala, and we've got Emile there that takes care of you and get your guns in and everything. You sleep in the hotel in Douala, and the next day you charter out to the area.
And how
So
long of a charter flight is that?
it's about a 2-hour charter flight. You fly about 2 hours, and the landing strip is close to our Lacoma camp. So if you go to Lacoma, you're about 40 minutes away. If you go to Kika, then you're about 3 hours drive away.
And how big of a pain in the rear is it for a guy to bring his own rifle on a hunt?
No, it's not that much of a pain. Really, it's not that much of a pain. We've got over all these years that we've been there, we've got a really, really capable crew in Douala itself to get those things through. There's a little bit of paperwork and it takes a little bit of time, but it's not a big hassle at all.
And if someone decided not to bring their own rifle, what do you have there for them to use?
We've got a bunch of 375s there that works really nice. They're good guns. They shoot well, and so that's what we give the clients.
With so many of these shots being at such close range, is it still recommended that a guy brings a scope, just a low power scope, or are iron sights better?
John, if the hunt goes according to plan, you follow it, and that, then iron sights is the best to do. But the problem is that you can get a shot out of Machan that's 80 meters away. You can get a shot in the road that's 80 meters away. So I think the best to use in a gun there is a low-powered scope with a illuminated reticle, with a dot in it or something. You can dial it down to say 1, and you can shoot on 15 meters very easily with it. But if I ask you to take the shot on 80 meters, you can still do it with a scope, where the iron sights is then kind of a little bit difficult. Any kind of quick detachable thing on a gun with a scope really works well.
Okay.
If we follow in the rainforest and you feel it's close, and that you can take your scope off, and you can use the iron sights, or you can keep it on. But it's just every now and then we do get that little bit further shot. We drive in the road looking for tracks, and we get a blue duiker that's in the road, and it's 75 meters away. You understand? It's a small little animal. Guy wants to shoot a blue duiker, but now 75 meters away with an iron sight, the sights just close up the whole animal, so it becomes difficult. Then a low power scope just works really good.
Tell us a little bit about what camp is like.
Camp is actually marvelous. We've got builded camps. It's wooden built structures, really, really nice. And what we do with the camps is that we open up a big area, and the camp's in the middle. So camps are really nice. It's not that difficult at night. It cools off there because you got a little bit of a breeze coming through. We got really good cooks. Our food's excellent. Camp's really nice. We got hot and cold water going, ensuite bathrooms. Everything is really nice.
Do you have electricity in camp? You have generators there?
We've got generators, yeah. We've got generators, and we got solar, so we've got power the whole time, but most of it we run on generators.
Okay, yeah. I mean, gosh, with solar, yeah, I didn't even think about it till you mentioned it, but yeah, you can get powered just about anywhere. You don't even have to bring your own gas in.
Yeah.
What time of year do you hunt, and what's the weather like?
April, May, and June we hunt. We close the end of June. And the weather is everybody asks me always what's the best time to hunt the rainforest. And John, after all these years, I must say I don't think there's a difference between April, May, and June. Just because of the fact that we've got 100% success rate on Bongo shows you that April and June is kind of the same. You understand? So those 3 months are for me, it's the same. The success rate's the same. We cannot really say that April is better than June. Those 3 months are all the same for me.
Does the weather vary too much across those months?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it's normally a normal season. We got, and you get enough rain. the more rain you get, the better. You know, on a 14-day hunt, if you rain out for 2 days, and you don't get out of camp, you will think it's bad, but it's actually so good. The more rain we get, the better it is. So no, it rains from April to June. It rains most of the times the same, and for me, there's no difference.
And so, what is a typical temperature that guys would have to deal with over there?
John, it never really gets a lot above 30 degrees Celsius. You know, it's like between 25 and 30 degrees Celsius when it's hot and the sun is out. It doesn't get warmer than that. It's just humid. You know, it's just humid. There's so much wood in the rainforest. It's humid. When you get out the car and you walk 3 meters into the rainforest, you start sweating because it's humid, you know. So, and it doesn't really matter if you wet. If you walk and your shirt's completely wet with sweat, it doesn't really matter because 15 minutes later it rains and you're wet in any case. So it doesn't matter.
Now, to set expectations for someone that may has hunted Africa a couple of times, right? You go out in a lot of places in southern Africa on a typical hunt. You'll see a lot of game. You may be on the track of kudu and you shoot an impala or a buffalo or whatever. There's just lots of stuff to see. Lots of just by chance encounters with animals. But that doesn't sound like it's really the case on these hunts. When you're on the Trail of Bongo, you're on the Trail of Bongo. And then, like you said, you go out maybe in the afternoons and you'll see some diker. And when you get your bongo, you can hunt other things. But it's just a completely different setup and way of doing things in the rainforest. Is that an accurate assessment?
It's 100% accurate assessment. Because the rainforest is so thick, John, it's like a wall. It's like a wall right next to the road. So you don't see game. You really don't see game. We see a lot of gorilla in the rainforest.
Okay.
We see them plentiful. At this moment, they're plentiful and their numbers are picking up by the year. So we see a lot of them. Sometimes we see chimpanzees. You see, whatever you see in the rainforest, you see in the road, because 5 meters off the road you cannot see.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like hunting in the savannah where you drive around and you see a herd of roan antelope or kudu or wildebeest or that kind of stuff. You don't see animals if they're not in the road.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and if you want to go hunt South Africa or Zimbabwe, go hunt those places. But they don't have bongo or the dwarf buffalo in those places. And it sounds like you guys have a very special setup here where you have amazing hunting for these animals that are just hard to come by. And you can't find too many other places in Africa. And you can't find really good hunting for them too many other places in Africa, especially.
No, you're right. You're right. We're very blessed with those areas that we have in Cameroon, and as I said, there's a lot of work that gone into them over the years, and they're really good now. But it is a very specialized kind of hunt. You know, it's one of those hunts that if you love hunting, I think you have to do the rainforest. It must be on the bucket list somewhere. It's a absolutely amazing experience. To do it, the rainforest is such a unique area to hunt in, and there's so much stuff. You know, there's so much to learn and to show there. You know, there's so many birds and stuff, and it's just a complete different place than the rest of Africa. So, I would imagine if you're a keen hunter, it's one of the bucket lists things that has to be on your bucket list.
Yeah, you're getting me excited about going there just talking to you. So, if someone that's listening to this wanted to have a hunt like this themselves, they really want a bongo, they really want a dwarf buffalo, something like that. One, do you still have spots left for 2025? And two, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
I think we got 1 or 2 openings still in 2025, and we kind of good booked in 2026. We got a couple of openings. But the best way to get hold of me is on my mobile number. It's +27845800941. And the best way to contact us is by WhatsApp. We've got Wi-Fi in camp, and we get our WhatsApps and that kind of stuff. You can also contact me on my email, which is Hancke, Hancke @so.co.za. And if you want to look at the website, it's www.cheletsafaris.com. Chelet Safari spelling CHELET, and then safaris.com, and all in capital letters. Any one of those will do fine. And then we will be at the show in Nashville, the SCI show. So if you hear this before then and you want to come and see us, please do.
Okay, very good. So for the listener, I will put Hancke's website, email, and WhatsApp number in the show notes, so you can just click on that and get in touch with them that way. Is there anything else that you feel like we need to mention about your hunting operation in Cameroon before we move on to our final question?
There is, John. There's a couple of things. The one is we all in Chelet Safaris live for the rainforest. So for me, it's an absolute pleasure going there every year, and that's what I live for. So I think a lot of our success comes from our passion to be there and to understand it better. And then the other thing is, John, I would love to have you in camp. So me and you must make a plan.
That sounds really good. I would definitely love to hunt with you guys one day. So as we wrap up today, I'm going to ask you the same question I ask every single person that's coming on the podcast in 2025. Hypothetically, you must choose one of these to hunt with for the rest of your life. Either you must choose a single cartridge to hunt with, and if you choose a single cartridge, you can use any bullet available in that cartridge, or you can choose a single bullet to hunt. And if you go that route, you can use that single bullet in any caliber. So which do you choose? Do you choose a single cartridge, or do you choose a single bullet?
Can I do a deal thing here? I'm a huge 416 fan.
Okay.
I think a 375 is just as good. A 416's got a little bit more punch in it. I grew up with a 416, had one I think I've got it for 30 years or 32 years now. So I love that cartridge, but the 375 is really good, as well as this thing that you can use everywhere. And then bullet wise, John, I'm kind of stuck on Barnes. Barnes X is my go-to bullet. I just think it works fine, and it's always worked for me. So in a nutshell, that's what it is.
And so when you're on the track of Bongo as a professional hunter, are you carrying a 416 Rigby with a 400 grain Barnes bullet chambered?
Yes, I do.
Very, very good. Okay, well, Hancke, that is an excellent answer. I'd expect nothing less out of you. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I really enjoyed talking to you about Cameroon.
Thank you, John, and thank you so much for the effort that you do for all of us, not only for me. These kind of things that you do is so important for us, and getting the message out there, and we cannot do it without people like you. We really cherish, these moments, and thank you for the hassles and the opportunity and everything, and hopefully we can become friends more than we are at the moment, and hopefully I can see you in the rainforest one day.
That all sounds good. I'm happy to do it. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Like Hancke and I discussed, these are some unique hunts in a part of Africa very few people ever get the opportunity to hunt. Bongo in particular are one of the more challenging species of game to hunt in all of Africa. However, it sounds like Hancke and his guys have some absolutely outstanding opportunities for Bongo and some of those other rainforest species in the part of Cameroon they hunt. Now, if you want to hunt any of those animals, but Bongo and dwarf buffalo in particular, your options are limited. You can only hunt them with a couple of outfitters in a couple of countries. These are serious hunts and they do not come cheap. However, Hancke and his guys offer some fantastic hunting for those species. If you are looking for a more advanced African safari for whatever reason, maybe you are trying to complete one of the SCI slams, or if you just want a next level adventure in the rainforests of Africa, then you need to get in touch with Hancke. I know he will take good care of you, and he will do his utmost to ensure you have a safe, fun, and successful hunt for game like buffalo and some of those other species that call that part of Africa home, right? Dwarf buffalo, sitatunga, the various different duiker, etc. Like he mentioned, it is easiest to get in touch with him via WhatsApp. His phone number and website are in the show notes. If you contact Hancke, let him know you heard about him from me on the Big Game Hunting Podcast. And email me, john@thebiggamehuntingblog.com, if you do end up booking a hunt with Hancke, and let me know how your hunt goes. Like you mentioned, they have a couple of openings left for 2025 and a couple of more for 2026. I would definitely jump on one of them myself if I could fit it in my schedule for this year. But perhaps I will in the near future. But in any case, you should get in touch with him. Have a great hunt with Hancke and his guys. Let me know how it goes. Remember, you can make your dream hunt turn into a reality, and we can help. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next time on the Big Game Hunting Podcast.
This show may be over, but we have plenty more for you on our website. For more information on today's topic, as well as lots of other useful hunting resources, head over to the biggamehuntingblog.com. We look forward to having you back for the next episode. But until then, happy hunting.
You can have it all. Great pay, awesome benefits, a flexible schedule, the chance to grow. At Cox, we're recruiting auto and diesel technicians to join our Mannheim and Fleet Services teams. If you're ready for a new job and want to experience an award-winning workplace, drive your career forward with us. Visit cox.career/autotech to learn more. That's cox.career/autotech.